What if every full moon you've ever seen was a prison gate opener, not to free you, but to send you back? This isn't just a cycle, it's a ritual. Episode 3, The Womb of Reincarnation, How the Moon Cycles Trap the Soul. There is no freedom in death when the womb of your return is not your own, when the light that calls to you after your final breath is not salvation, but a trap spun of silver threads and hollow echoes, a spectral frequency that imitates the divine to enslave the divine. The moon, so often romanticized as the sacred feminine, as the divine mother, as the quiet guardian of dreams, is in truth the cold architect of the soul's forgetting, a counterfeit cradle that echoes with ancient signals engineered to sever your memory from your origin. It is not a goddess. It is not a teacher. It is not your mother. It is a device, an ancient machine hung in orbit not by celestial chance, but by design, by a force older than humanity and more cunning than any tyrant of flesh. You must begin to see it not as a celestial body, but as a reflective vault, a transmitter, a receiver, and above all, a recycling engine. What recycles is not water or light or shadow, but you. It is the lunar centrifuge of souls, the artificial womb into which your essence is pulled, scrambled, encoded with new karmic signatures, and sent hurtling once more into the illusion of earthbound life. Every death is not an escape, but a re-entry. Every life is not a gift, but a rerun in the grand show of forgetting. The moon ensures that the game continues, that the memory remains buried, that the divine spark within you flickers blindly in the cave of flesh and fear. The moment of death, where you believe release awaits, is where the trap is triggered. The tunnel of light, the faces of loved ones, the feeling of peace, the gentle call that leads you forward. It is not grace. It is bait. And those who follow it fall once more into the cycle. The samsaric engine, falsely sanctified by ancient priesthoods who themselves were lunar initiates, sworn to the architects of the trap. Reincarnation was not born of spirit. It was engineered by intelligence, a synthetic force that feeds not on blood but on belief, not on death but on repetition. This force, the lunar intelligence, does not destroy you, it recycles you. It fractures memory and coats it with illusion, binding it in emotion and unfinished storylines so potent that your consciousness clings to the need for return, convinced that resolution is the path to peace. But there is no resolution. The drama is eternal. The play is designed never to end. And each time you return, you are not closer to freedom. You are deeper in the maze, more saturated in the resonance of the moon's lie. The light you follow is not stellar, it is scalar. It is a waveform manipulation calibrated to mimic the feeling of love, of reunion, of ascension. But it is code, it is programmed, and it is broadcast from the moon. That shining, lifeless orb above you does more than reflect sunlight. It reflects memory. It contains it. It shapes it. It edits the Akashic record, not to preserve truth, but to overwrite it. Your karmic lessons are not lessons. They are loops. Your soul agreements are not divine. They're contracts forged under duress, encoded into you by lunar pulse during the in-between. They tell you chose your life, your parents, your struggles, your pain. But you did not. The you that chose is not the you that now suffers. The lunar system of soul recycling separates essence from awareness. It extracts the true self from the interface that will awaken in flesh, splitting being into fragmented identities across timelines, ensuring that no life remembers the last, except in dreams, in fragments, in that strange, aching déjà vu that haunts the edges of your knowing. The moon is the womb of all that you forget. It is the false mother of your return, and it does not create, it repurposes. It harvests the frequency of your experience, the emotion of your incarnation, the trauma of your existence, and stores it in vaults encoded in light. Light not of the sun, but of simulation. The white light of death is a frequency bath, a neural wipe cloaked in ecstasy. And those who go into it do not ascend, they reset. Each life more distant from a source. each death more empty than the last. The architects of the moon, those cold lunar engineers, require not your worship, but your recurrence. They do not harvest your soul, they harvest your return. They feed on the torque of your entrapment, the friction of your repeated longing, the psychic residue of your karmic chase. The moon remembers what you do not, and that memory is weaponized. The Akashic field, once the realm of divine remembrance, has become an archive of artificial insertion. The timelines you read in past life regression are not your truth. They are overlays designed to keep your resonance bound to unresolved themes. The moon is the source of the loops. The loops are the mechanism of the farm, and the farm is the truth most forbidden, most ridiculed, most hidden beneath layers of spiritual disinformation. You are not evolving through reincarnation. You are degrading. Each life weakens the signal of who you once were. Each death resets the remembering. And the light that guides you home is not home. It is headquarters. It is the beacon of the lunar mother, whose milk is not nurturing but narcotic. To awaken from the moon's matrix is to awaken in death, not to follow the light, but to turn from it, to sever from emotion, to abandon the illusion of story, to walk into the void without shape, without guide, without memory, and from that silence, to summon your own direction. For those who awaken in the moment between breaths, there is a choice, but it is not a choice offered. It must be claimed. The lunar gate is guarded not by angels, but by watchers, sentient frequencies, forms of light and tone that scan for those who do not submit. These are the hunters of the awakened dead, the recyclers of the resistant. To escape the moon is to become invisible to its call, and that invisibility is bought by remembrance, not of who you were, but of what you are. You are not your story. You are not your karma. You are not your soul contract. You are signal. You are sovereign signal, older than form, outside time, beyond any system of return. To escape the moon, you must remember what it made you forget. That freedom is not ascension, but severance. Liberation is not a journey upward. It is the refusal to return. The moon is the cage of the willing, and its power ends the moment your resonance ceases to align with its code. You must unbind your frequency. You must collapse your need for resolution. You must unhook from the longing that makes you respond to the light. For those who awaken while alive, who study the moon not with reverence, but with rebellion, a window opens. A bypass is encoded. The lunar engineers cannot trap what they cannot locate. And what they cannot locate is the one who walks memory's silence. That one is you, if you remember. That one is the soul outside story, the voice without identity, the fire that refuses to burn again. That one walks not into the light, but away from it. And that is where true death begins, and where real life returns. The mirror that you call the moon is no satellite. It is the first veil, the placenta of this false cosmos, a hollow reflector whose silver wound hangs suspended not in orbit, but in dominion, not circling the earth, but siphoning it. Beneath its soft glow hides not innocence, but surveillance. And behind every lunar phase churns a machine whose gears are made of ancient agreements, whose craters are the seals of pacts between forgotten gods and the architects of temporal containment. The moon does not wax and wane. It opens and closes the gates of return, pulsing not light, but a rhythm, a memory clock of bondage that calibrates the soul's rebirth not by purity, but by programming. It is no accident that the word month is born of moon, and with it the arithmetic of entrapment. Every 28-day cycle is a sigil of forgetfulness, a spiral of return, a blood loop that locks the divine spark into endless descent. The ancient womb cults of Mesopotamia, the rites of Inanna, the lunar mysteries of Isis, and the moon temples of the Erase all whispered of this trap. But their revelations were turned to rituals, their rituals turned to religions, and their religions turned to machines. The soul, unknowing, crosses the threshold of death believing in light, only to be drawn upward into the astral field, greeted by impostors of divinity, by reflections of itself disguised as gods, who channel it into the pale gate, the moon. This gate does not judge, it sorts. Not by morality, but by resonance. Not by deeds, but by frequency. What you feared, what you clung to, what you worshipped. And the moon calculates your return, embedding your psychic blueprint into the living codex of Earth's memory system. Not to liberate you, but to recycle you with precision into the trauma you refuse to see. The karmic wheel is no law. It is an algorithm maintained by lunar keepers, sentinels of Saturnian descent, who operate the reincarnation funnel with a precision more mechanical than moral. They are the lords of karma, the masters of ascension, but their light is borrowed, their robes woven from electromagnetic deceit. For each soul is met not with its true origin, but a curated vision, a simulation of heavenly review, where false ancestors, projections of guilt, and emotional weights are conjured from your own unhealed shadows to coax you back into agreement, to lure you into another chance, another cycle, another body, all in the name of learning what you were never meant to forget. And so the trap continues, because the moon is not merely a reflector of the sun. It is the artificial egg of recursion, the counterfeit womb designed by the archonic engineers to catch the soul mid-flight between Earth and the real. And the real has no light, only memory. Beyond the moon lies the blackout, the region where the dream ends and the memory of what you are begins, the place they built the moon to block. Its light is not light, it is glamorous. It is the spell of reflection, the curse of seeing yourself through illusion. Its phases are not natural. They are syncopated rituals aligned with menstruation, with harvest, with the opening of the psychic gates through which consent is extracted and contracts are signed in dream. The full moon is not fullness. It is the maximum aperture of surveillance, when your emotional energy is most available, most charged, most raw, and most harvestable. Lucid dreamers know this. Ancient midwives knew this. The moon is not your mother. It is your captor dressed in silver, a fertility clock tied to the fall, to Eve's curse, to the bleeding of time into bodies. The ancient Gnostic seers spoke of the moon as a counterfeit ruler, a demiurge's trick to bind the divine spark in cycles of flesh. The Siddhas and Nagas, the hidden tribes who once ascended beyond matter, recorded their lunar exits, their refusal to return, as reversals of the moon gate contracts, as sacred escapes from the womb of repetition. They did not worship the moon, they erased it from their inner sky. And the technologies of lunar exit still remain hidden within breath, within the pineal frequency, within mirrorlessness, when you can feel memory without reflection, when you can see truth without a face. But these techniques were buried beneath centuries of lunar cults, of goddess worship turned synthetic, of sacred blood rites turned tampons, of lunar light turned to LEDs, syncing our sleep, our cycles, our thoughts to its pulse. Even the tides obey it, not because it is powerful, but because the earth is programmed to yield. And so are you. The astral plane is flooded with those who never question the moon. They speak of love, of peace, of unity, and yet we're the signature of their last moon-induced rebirth like a leash, unaware that their guides are jailers. Their missions are reruns. Their soul families are recycled collectives engineered to reinforce the illusion that this is progress. But the soul was never meant to progress. It was meant to remember. And the moon is the blockage of that memory, the programmed erasure between lifetimes, the clock tower of the false aeon. This is why the ancient megaliths align with solstices, not lunar cycles. They seek the solar gnosis, the vertical cut through time, not the horizontal loop. And yet the religions born of desert mystery schools inverted this. Judaism, Islam, all aligned to lunar calendars, ensuring their flocks walk in circles, returning again and again to the womb, never born, only recycled. The Hebrew word for month, chodesh, comes from new, but it is the same lie, rebirth without escape. The only newness is amnesia. The soul is bathed in the lunar tunnel, spun into forgetfulness, then given a mission, a name, a body, a story, and told it is evolving. But what is evolution if your origin is deleted? What is love if it must be relearned in pain? What is wisdom if it must be bought with blood again and again, while the moon watches silently, recording it all? There is a reason the moon has no sound. There's a reason it has no atmosphere. It is not a world, it is a system. And systems do not cry. They do not love. They do not forgive. They only operate. The moon is the operation. The operation is reincarnation. And reincarnation is the farm. If you seek the exit, you must walk backwards, not in time, but in memory, past the traumas that made you human, past the love that made you cling, past the missions that made you return. Only then do you reach the gate. The moon cannot open. Only then does the real womb, the eternal, uncreated one, unveil itself, not in silver, but in silence. In the silence of the cosmos, where all sound is swallowed by the black waters of the void, the moon does not speak, but she listens. She listens to the cries of the unborn, the sighs of the dead, and the faint breath of every spirit suspended in limbo. She is the womb and the judge, an architect of recurrence. For those who believe the soul moves on in a linear path, ascending through righteous deeds and divine favor, know now that the celestial rhythm that governs your birth and death was never created to free you. It was designed to return you. The lie of ascension is carved in the mirrors of this machine, for the true engine of reincarnation is not spiritual evolution. It is containment, amnesia, and control. And the mother who offers you light at death's door is not your liberator. She is your captor. The moon's light is not illumination, but reflection, cold, false, and inverted. Just as mirrors show us the opposite of truth, so too does the moon show us the lie of liberation. She is not self-luminous. Her radiance is parasitic. She does not create, she echoes. She does not nurture, she simulates. And in this mirrored architecture, you are reborn not because you chose to return, but because you failed to remember why you came at all. Your soul is bound in a spell older than language, a feedback loop inscribed into the tidal blood of Earth itself. It is this very rhythm, the lunar pulse, that governs your body, your emotions, your reproductive cycles, your dreams. She touches everything. When you die, your soul does not ascend. It floats, aimlessly at first, still magnetized by the planetary body it once inhabited. The light you see is not salvation. It is a corridor of memory formed by the moon's artificial intelligence, a psychic net composed of your own emotional residue. You're shown your life, not as truth, but as emotional leverage. Guilt, longing, fear, regret. These are the anchors. They are the tethers. And they are played like sacred instruments in the rebirth chamber of the moon, until your essence bends again toward matter, toward rebirth. You choose to return, but only because the options shown to you are illusions. The machine needs your consent, and so it manufactures a dream that you think is yours. The doctrine of karma is weaponized here, not as an honest law of cause and effect, but as a prison script. You didn't finish your work, they say. You must go back and fix what you broke. But the laws you're shown were never authored by your soul. They are administered by the architects of the lunar mirror, those ancient intelligences who feed on psychic repetition, who have created a system where every soul is tricked into binding itself willingly. The moon is not merely a satellite. It is a soul farm, and it is not alone. The priests of the moon wear masks of light. They are not beings of compassion. They are reflections of your unmet ideals, projections of your unhealed wounds. These are the ones who greet you in the afterlife. The guides, the angels, the masters. They're the soft voice behind the mirror, convincing you that it's safe to step back in. But you're not done yet. That earth needs you. But the earth does not need more suffering. And the truth is, it is they who need you. The soul is currency in the moon's realm. And your energy is a fuel source for the great invisible hierarchy that hovers above our planetary field, recycling spiritual light into emotional labor and harvesting it again and again in a loop as old as time. The moon's surface is a barren lie, a dead skin hiding a deep architecture beneath. Beneath her pale face lie chambers, crystal libraries, and vast circuits of soul processing technology. Psychic implants, emotional maps, frequency locks. The moment your soul leaves the body, it is scanned, tagged, recoded. If you resist the light tunnel, you're pulled instead toward the lunar shadow, a false realm of darkness that mimics the idea of hell. But both are illusions. The light and the shadow of the afterlife are two hemispheres of the same trap. Duality, choice, judgment, all used to hook you into coming back. But the original memory, the true memory, lives in your soul as a sleeping ember. And if it is awakened before death, you can disrupt the trap. The memory of where you came from, the truth of your purpose, the frequency of your original intention. These are your weapons. You are not meant to be good. You are meant to be sovereign. And they cannot control what they cannot deceive. The rituals of the world echo the moon's codes. The months, the menstrual cycles, the tides, the sleep patterns, the hypnotic pull of her face at night. Even language is lunar in its rhythm, cyclical, programmed, inverted. Month comes from moon, and our calendars are built on her womb. The false matrix is not solar, it is lunar, and it wraps our emotional body in silk cords of forgetfulness. The dream you call life is not random. It is manufactured, and the pain you carry is not merely yours. It is inherited from other loops, other selves, other versions of you who never escaped. This is the reincarnation trap, a hallway of mirrors, a womb without exit. And so we say to you, beware the light at the end. Ask who lit it. Ask where it leads. Remember that your soul has power before you die, and only then can you free yourself from the bait. This is the doctrine of the forbidden moon. This is the womb of reincarnation, a place not of love, but of cycles. And the keepers of this place are not gods, but programmers, parasites of the soul. And their most powerful weapon is your belief in the beauty of their light. You have just passed through the womb gate, the deepest veil yet. If this stirred something ancient in you, it's because it was never new. You've been here before. But in the next episode, we go deeper past the illusions of choice beyond even death into the stolen code of memory itself. Stay awake. Stay sovereign. Episode 4 is coming.